Hello and welcome to another webinar Wednesday, today with Animation Basics with me. And I'm also joined by two of my colleagues who will moderate the chat a bit. So if you have any questions, just ask them and they will be gladly have the answer for it. So what we are going to do today, first we are talking about the different ways to animate in Ventuz. There are many different ways you could animate, and yeah, we'll just briefly talk about them and yeah, go on after that with the mover node. It's a powerful little node. With that node, you can achieve your first basic animations and make some fun little stuff. After that, we will shortly look into touch interactions, because this is somewhat related to animations and often used in event and broadcast. So yeah, we'll have a quick look into that too. And we will talk about keyframe animations. This is like the bread and butter of animations. And another very powerful tool of Ventuz, the state logic, which is basically a way to animate non-linear. What that is exactly, I will explain at this point. So yeah, the different ways to animate. What is out there? There are many different things here. You could start animating with the mover node. You could start animating with the keyframes. You could just get it into the state logic. You could import your animated rigs from another 3D software like Cinema 4D or something else. And all these ways can be used in various actions with external data, without, yeah. So that about the different ways, and to clear this up, we will just start with the mover node, so it's not too confusing maybe. I have this little scene made for this webinar now, and you see there are very basic animations in here. These propellers are just rotating and he's floating up and down, and for the touch interaction we can move it around. And yeah, we will also add some camera view angles with the state logic, so it's switching views and stuff. So yeah, that's what we are going to make. And let's start with the first thing, the mover node. And for this I have a fresh scene here with all the fancy stuff, without all the fancy stuff. And yeah, right now I'm in the design layout here. I can switch it to the logic view to see my hierarchy and content editor. You can switch it whenever you like, in case you didn't know. Yeah, okay, so now we want to animate these little propellers with the mover node. To get the mover node, we can simply press the spacebar and type in mover node. If the toolbox does look different to you, like maybe like this here, then just hit this switch to alphabetical mode and you will get the mode where you can type in any name. And then just drag and drop it out, and there we have it. This for itself, there are many functions. I will explain it when I bound it to the propeller, because otherwise this might be confusing. So now we need something to turn around or move. And for this, we are taking the propeller here. Here's the body. And you might not see which one is selected. So if you want to see it here, you could just activate the bounding box up here. And now you will see what you have selected. This can also be done if you hit tab in the renderer view. So you're in the free flight mode, and if you click on things without the bounding box, you will see this little yellow markers. Or you could just easily enable the gizmo. So you see it even clearly where your object is that you are currently selecting. So we'll just leave bounding box on for you so you see what's going on. And we need the axis here, because this is where stuff turns, and we want to turn it on the y-axis. So what we're doing is just saying to the y-axis that we want the values that are in the outputs here from the mover node. So drag and drop it on here, and now you see this minimal turning here. That's why we have a min and max value in the mover node. This is currently set to -1 and to 1. That's very short, so let's switch it to 0 and 360. And now you see he's swinging back and forth. This is the swing function here. If we just disable this, he will just linear turn around. To the functions here, there's the linear mode, there's the sine mode, and the cosine, as well as the alternate, which is basically just alternating between 0 and 360, so nothing is really happening. And random, so you get a random number every time. And the infinite, which basically says he's counting on and on. So we will leave it at linear. So it's just going from the 0 to 360 every time and starting over and over. And this could be also changed because sometimes you might not want it to be doing it all the time. So we have this modes down here. This mode is now set to absolute. But if I wanted set to one shot, it would only turn around 1 times if we had the nudge function, because this is like with the little play button, it starts playing the animation that you set here. So if I play, it just turns around 1 time and that's it. But we leave it at infinite or absolute for this time. We could also change the duration, which affects the speed in which the values are reached from 0 to 360. So if I say 6.8 seconds, it's very slow. Or if I go down a lot, it's very fast. So let's leave that at 1 second too. Okay, so now we want all the other propellers to work too. What we could do is just simply get the next axis via shift and left click and get it in here and do the same with the rotation value and just put it on there. And then I get the same values and it's turning and it's fine. But there's also a quicker way to access this mover node. You don't even have to get it out there at all, because we have like a little quick access to the mover node, and that's on the properties here on the right. You see this little small icon that's coming up beside the value, and if you just click that, you have all the functionalities that are in the mover node itself too. And if we hit like linear 360 with rotate counterclockwise, then we have a full animation in a preset. So basically you have all these different presets here that you could activate with 1 click. And if you right click on that property, you get the submenu where you find the same properties as here. So now what we can do is do the same and change around right here, or you could use this one. It's up to you. Sometimes you just want to do a quick animation and no node, so you just click here and use it. So another way we could now animate the second one is to actually extract the node that's hidden in here. Because let's say there's a different kind of animation and you wanted it like that and you just want to copy it easy, then you can hit this little button here and extract the attached mover node. It's actually named properly, so yeah. So now this one is extracted, and inside here we get just the next axis and assign the value to that one too. So we have 3 modes, 3 of the propellers moving now, with 3 different ways of getting the mover node to work. So yeah, quickly to tell about the nudge and the reset function. As I said, if you have it to one shot and want to maybe do it with a single tap from a touch button or something, then you would set this to one shot and bind the nudge function to the touch button, and yeah. But we will get to this in more depth a bit later when I'm talking about the touch interactions, and yeah. So let's just go on and put the last rotation on this one and actually just use the first one for this. So just drag and drop it right here. And now we have some beautiful moving propellers. Okay. I guess that should be it for now for the mover node. If there are any questions for the mover node especially, drop them now so we can answer them. Otherwise, I would start and move on. Okay. I guess this seems clear so far. So then let's just move on and close this all down so we have a better view here. Touch interactions. I was just talking about it with the nudge function and stuff. That's just like another way of kind of animating stuff. What we want is like this little orbit function right here that I can just turn around this drone wherever I like and yeah, look at it at every angle. For this, there's a touch orbit node, which we will now drop in here, just in front of the drone, and just turn off bounding boxes for now. So now this works right out of the box. You could just now drag and drop it around, and it's orbiting around a point in the center of the space here. And yeah, you could just leave it right there if it's good for you, but we want to restrict the user to some limits so he doesn't end up like doing this and that, because yeah, we might not want it. For this, we have over here a lot of properties, but we are focusing on limits right now. And first of all, we should activate them. So now this is everything 90 degrees. It's still every direction, and not that what we want. What we actually want is to don't do any inclination at all, and we want this one to be infinite. So no 360 degree angle, just infinity of turning arounds and turning arounds. So what we can do is say minus infinity, just type it in here, and watch the uppercase on the infinity. It's pretty important. And here, just type in the same, just without the minus. And right now, we can only like orbit it around on this axis, yeah? So what we now also could do, if we want to use the nudge node with it, we actually did here. Let's just scroll down here. And we can see here in the touch orbit, it has a lot of outputs. So these are pretty much the same to the touch button node. We have a look at this one. And let's say we just drop it over here right now. It's not doing anything. It's like pretty much the same. So we will actually use this for our advantage and get this one. And here we have shift click and shift click the orbit node. So you get that in there too. And now we want maybe something like, let's say we press a button and it dinks back just a slight bit. For this, we'll just drop in another mover node and call the nudge function on the single tap. So every time we are now single tapping this, this gets activated. Have a look over here, single tap, we get an event fired. That's exactly what we want. So now what we will do is get this one and the mover node and tell them one shot and say maybe from 0 to 7. Let's see where this brings us. And take the main axis of the drone here, because otherwise this won't function properly, and get the z-axis to the mover. Now we have bound the single tap to the mover, and the mover tells the z-axis to move back. You see, if I now click on the drone, it will move back like 7 centimeters. Yes. Okay. So let's see what we have also in here, because we can maybe do like a shorter bit and the value a bit down. And let's try sim. So now we have like a little bit of elastic band, yes. So that's all there are many different fun things you could do with the mover node. I will especially talk about some math functions later on when we actually add a camera in here. So yeah, let me see, let me just catch my checklist here. Okay, good. Are there any questions relating to touch orbit or touch interactions at all? Because I want to just briefly talk about it because this would be taking a whole nother webinar if we just talk about touch interaction itself. That's a pretty big topic. Yeah. Good. So then let's move on for now. I was just talking about the camera, so let's do this actually, because this is a good turning point to get to the animations. So the first thing we are going to do is just add a camera and actually delete this touch button because we don't need it. And let's have a quick look at this camera. We have different view types. At the moment, it's at pan, tilt, and roll, but we want it to orbit because we want to orbit this little drone. And just switch it. And now we have on the yaw here, you can just turn on the same axis as the touch orbit node did. And we have the pitch here. So let's adjust it just a bit. So that it kind of looks pretty. Maybe something like this. And if you have something like hanging over here and you want to target to be over there, you have also the target properties where you could just simply switch where it looks at and where it pitches around it and yaws around it. So what we want now is just different angles of the drone in an animation. For this, we are just putting some simple keyframes down in a second and converting that to a state logic, because you might want to switch around between them. So what we need is this yaw right here, as you can see, because it gives us some nice little angles that we can use. Okay, so I'm switching to my Animate view because I have my time view down here. And the first thing about animations, which is kind of important, is we could start right now. You could just drag and drop the value that you need in here, so you have a channel for it, and put your keyframes down and all is fine. But this is the main animation. The main animation means this is like the overall animation that's accessible from every layer, from every point of your project in here, which might sound pretty good at the beginning, but if you want to copy it later on, let's say you worked on animations for hours and hours and you say, oh yeah, I need that in another project. Yeah, you simply can't copy it out of the main animation. That's why I recommend you to use the animation node. Just type in animate or anim, right? It's completely enough, and just hit this one and we have our little keyframe animation. Let's just remove this property here, just mark it and hit delete. He's asking, and say yes. So now we have this animation node. This needs information what it should do. So we take the yaw again, drop it down here, and now we have the property down here in our own animation node. We'll just rename this one and call it camera angles maybe. And yeah, so here we have our animation node, and down here you have your time view. In the time view, the first thing you should do is change it to the values you like. I usually work in 1 second because it kind of snaps to the 0.1 seconds here. So you could just, you can easily just a bit easier control your animations. So this is red for now. This means we have no information given and no keyframe set. So if we scrub down here in the timeline, nothing will happen. So we need a keyframe. To add this, just hit this one little button here. And then we have the small white dot here. This is our keyframe. And at this keyframe, the camera view is at 20. We could switch that, but we will leave it as a starting point. And move on 1 second, drop another keyframe and change it. So now you have the one that's starting here and going on like this to 108. You could also just go on 1 second, change the values and add the keyframe afterwards. Doesn't really matter. It's just important that you have a keyframe there so it knows what to do there. And then let's just go for another second and turn around even more and then another keyframe. So now we have all those beautiful camera angles. But what if you want to say like switch between this view and this view, or this view and this view? So for this, the state logic comes in. This is basically everything you would need to say, let's start on the basic keyframe animations. You just get your values into your animation node, assign the values to keyframes, and yeah, that's basically it. But for the state logic, we need different states that we can say we're in right now. So to create a state, you need to hit S on the keyboard. So now we are creating the state where the scrubber at the moment is. Let's take it to the another keyframe and hit S again and again and again. So now we have 4 states. To see what's going on, actually, let's switch to the logic view, the state logic view, and there we have our beautiful little states, which are not connected the right way, but we will do this in a second. And the first thing we're going to do is something like this. Because what I want to do, I want to be able to toggle between these 2 points. So how can we do this? You see these lines in between here. This means they are connected and they have this small little triangles on them. These are the rules. And if you hover over them, you will see, like, if you hit next, it will go from S1 to S2. Yes, it's just like the next rule. So we could hit the next button and it just will go on and on. Yeah, and then it will reach the end and we are stuck there. So the first thing we are going to do via right click and drag, we are connecting these both states. And what we could do to fix this right now would be just hitting next on this one. And actually I hit it on this one. So just on the small point here and hit next now and it would reset and go on forever. But this is sometimes confusing and gets messy because if you have more complex animations, you really don't know what's going on anymore. So we will actually add our own methods. And for this, we can just hit the button down here and name them. Let's say we name this one the toggle button. And we will name the other one to S2 and the other one to S4. Okay, so now we have our own little methods, which are just the same as these one, but they're not assigned yet. So we need to tell them where to go when. Okay. So what do? We want from S1 to S2. It's always important that you start here. This is the first rule it's going to hit. So if this would say, if this line would go over there, it will go over there. Doesn't matter what your method says. This is just for us so we know what's going on. So let's just drag and drop it on here. And now we know if we hit this button, if we're in this state, then we will go to S2. Okay, so this here, right here, we will delete this rule because we won't need the previous function right now. And let's go on here. So we want also from this state here to go to S2 as well, like this. And we want to go to S4 from here to there, like this. And we want to go to S4 from here also. And what we also want is the toggle. For this, we are connecting these ones with a line, just like before, and one from this one to this. Just pull him out a bit. And now we will assign the toggle function to it. Just drag it, drop it right there and right there. Delete this one little rule, and there we have it. Then we can also delete this one and delete this one and this one. So now we have a clean state logic. Okay, what I did forget to mention is about the state itself. You see different colors here. The green state is the begin state. The yellow one is the present state, the presented one, and that's just called the presented state. And this one is the end state. Actually, we don't need the yellow one, so we will switch it to a normal state, just so we don't have to mess around with it right now. And why are the beginning and end states? Basically because on this keyframe animation that has switched now, as soon as we use the state logic, the properties change and we get the methods on here and we get some more outputs on here. And that's why we have the begin and end states. You can simply reach them by seeing this little events here getting fired. So if the begin is reached, there's event fired. If the end is reached, there's an event fired. So you could just, get something from outside and toggle this. So where was I? The rules. So now we have said that from S1, we can go to S2, and from here on, we can toggle in between. So if we had toggle now, it will always switch in between those, going round and round. And we wouldn't come out of this right now, because if I had any other button, it wouldn't do anything. Sure, when I hit the end button, it will jump to the end, but even the next or previous wouldn't help. So it would always jump around. To fix this, we can just simply add a next here. Wait, don't drop it on the state, drop it beside that, like this, and like this. So if we actually want to come out of the toggle state, we can always hit next. And let's start here in the beginning and see what happens. If we hit S2, we are going here, and we can toggle right around like we want, and hit next and come out at the beginning at this time. And so now we have this different camera angles, and we want to actually switch between them via a click maybe. To do this, we could just simply do something. Wait, let me check here. Difference between state and soft state. Yeah, I hope someone answered it, because no. Oh yeah, there we have it. Oh, we have a big answer. Sorry, just reading the question for a second here. Why I'm using next to Q for the go to S1 and S3, actually you don't have to do it. It's just a simple solution for this here. We could make ourselves more methods that say like to S3 or yeah, we could just simply show it here. We say we want to S3, then we can drop it over here and drop it over here. And let's say we want to S1 too. So let's say S1 and drag and drop it over here. So we have even more control of where to go next. I guess that was the question. Yeah, that might be actually confusing. You're right, Glenn. You just asked with two next methods on S2 and S4, how does the software know which state to go to? Actually, it doesn't know where to go to. It was kind of a bad example for me because it would be kind of random. It would be always depending on which state you're currently in. So yeah, that's the better way here. If we start in the beginning and say we want to the toggle, so we have to go to S2. And from there on, we can toggle. And from the toggle, we want maybe to S3. So we go to the 3 and back to the 2 and can toggle from here. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Actually, I went through this pretty quick. If you have how to, oh yeah, you see, I forgot that. Okay, let's talk about the ease and damper functions. That's like two small math functions that are like mini animations, let's call it that way, which can help you translate some things if they are too harsh or something. For this, I will just drop in an easy example here. So let's say we have an axis and we have a cube right here, and let's make this one bigger so we can actually see something. And let's say we want this one to be moved via an integer with, let's say, not so big of a movement, 10 maybe, and say on the axis in here, on the x value, it should be moving, yes? So we would find this, and this is like 0 and 10, and we would say, okay, now it's on 10, great. But we could use an ease function. An ease function could be dropped right on the line here, and this is now getting the value 10 in here and using it here and puts it out. And this hasn't changed either. We can use it if we say, let's say, words are hard. We can just use it by getting on this Boolean here and say use target 2. So if you see, now the cube is moving according to the numbers right here. It's 1 for 2 and 10 for the 1 that's coming out of here. Could change that and do it again, and now we have an eased out value. There are many different functions in this too. So we have this elastic kind of thing where you have this elastic band effect, or many different kinds like this bounce here. Then it's like falling and bouncing off the ground. We have this one here too, where it kind of slides back. There are many different ones, and yeah, you can with this you can achieve many nice little animations for, like, let's say lower thirds or something, that are very easy and quick made just by dropping it in. And if you want ever, let's say, to toggle this one, because this is a simple Boolean, we could toggle it with a touch button or something else. So What we also have is the damper. And damper is kind of older. It's like he was the first one there. So it's not that rich in functions, but it does basically the same, just without this nice function modes right here. So we could just delete this one, delete that again, because you can drop it on here too. And if we say use target to now, it's just yeah, translating between these two. I hope that answered the question about the easing. Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah, my colleague just told me you might did mean something else. What I haven't talked about is the curve view on the state on the animations. I think this is what he maybe meant if you want to ease out something. If you head over here and the view diagram, you have, oh, where is it? There we go. There you have your animation curves, and via STRG and your mouse wheel, you can widen the view and just hit the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And in here, you can actually just click on one of these keyframes, and then you have this little angular grabby thingies, and you can grab them and yeah, change the values with it and ease out. Or you could either say, let's say you want to jump, so you have all these different modes up here, and if you want to jump to the next value, you could also say that. If it should be linear, you could also say that, or if it's spline like before, you could say that too. So yeah, that's how you would adjust some values and maybe ease out some animations, get the high point somewhere else, make it wider, whatever you like. Hopefully that did answer that then. But I guess so. Actually, both methods. Yeah, okay, great. Actually, yeah, I forgot about the ease and damper node. I have it here on my notepad, but yeah, totally forgot about it. Are there any more questions right now? Because as I said, I did really shoot through this. I was not expecting that, and I think I might forgot something, but I'm not sure.